Trump received the Nobel Peace Prize. Putin appeared in public for the first time since the start of the new year. My name is Albina Pidhirnyak. We will look more closely at the Russian dictator's statements next. Venezuela's opposition leader Machado said she gave Trump her Nobel Peace Prize medal. She said it was done as a sign of recognition for his strong commitment to our freedom.
Did you offer to President Trump your Nobel Peace Prize?
I presented the President of the United States the medal of the Nobel Peace Prize, and I told him this, listen to this. 200 years ago, General Lafayette gave Simón Bolívar a medal with George Washington's face on it. Bolívar since then kept that medal for the rest of his life. Actually, when you see his portraits, you can see the medal there. And it was given by General Lafayette as a sign of the brotherhood between the United States, people of the United States and the people of Venezuela in their fight for freedom against tyranny. And 200 years in history, the people of Bolívar are giving back to the heir of Washington a medal, in this case a medal of the Nobel Peace Prize, as a recognition for his unique commitment with our freedom.
Trump accepted the Nobel Peace Prize from Machado. In their joint photos, he looks very happy. On his true social media, he thanked Machado and gave her many compliments.
It was my great honor to meet Maria Corina Machado of Venezuela today. She is a wonderful woman who has been through so much. Maria presented me with her Nobel Peace Prize for the work I have done. Such a wonderful gesture of mutual respect. Thank you, Maria.
This is how Maria Corina Machado explained her decision and this step.
In spite of the Nobel Prize Committee saying that you couldn't transfer your Nobel Prize to anyone, especially President Trump, you did today. Why did you do that?
Because he deserves it. And it was a very emotional moment. I decided to present the Nobel Peace Prize medal on behalf of the people of Venezuela.
Putin appeared in public for the first time since the start of the new year. The Russian dictator complained that, according to him, there is no security in the world because the rule of force now dominates.
The situation in the international arena is deteriorating more and more. It seems to me that no one will argue with this. Long-standing conflicts are escalating, and new serious hotbeds of tension are emerging. At the same time, diplomacy, the search for consensus and compromise solutions are increasingly being replaced by unilateral and very dangerous actions. And instead of a dialogue between states, there is a monologue of those who, by the right of the strong, consider it permissible to dictate their will, teach to live and give orders. Dozens of countries in the world suffer from disrespect for their sovereign rights, from chaos and lawlessness, and do not have the strength and resources to stand up for themselves. A reasonable way out of this situation is seen in more insistently demanding compliance with international law by all members of the international community, as well as providing real assistance to a new, more just multipolar world order, which is making its way. A world order in which all states would have the right to their own model of growth, to determine their own destiny independently, without outside influence, while preserving their original culture and traditions. I would like to note that Russia is sincerely committed to the ideals of a multipolar world. Our country has always pursued and will continue to pursue a balanced, constructive foreign policy that takes into account both our national interests and objective trends in world development. We are committed to maintaining truly open and mutually beneficial relations with all partners interested in cooperation, deepening ties in politics, the economy, and the humanitarian sphere, and jointly confronting acute challenges and common threats.
Along with Putin, all his close allies also appeared. Less than half a month into the new year, the Russian government held a meeting.
Dear colleagues, good afternoon. Before we move on to the agenda of the government meeting, I would like to talk about the decision taken to develop the industrial sector in our new regions so that it fully works to achieve the national goals set by the President and to strengthen the country's technological sovereignty. In the Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics, in the Zaporozhye and Kherson regions, there are significant enterprises of metallurgical, engineering and other key industries, and comprehensive plans are currently being implemented to restore them, to increase capacity. And in order to further stimulate the solution of such complex problems, the government has determined special preferential coefficients to confirm the domestic origin of a number of their products.
Peskov also tried to manipulate Trump's statements. He again accused Ukraine's president of allegedly blocking the talks.
Here we can agree. This is true. President Putin and the Russian side maintain their openness. The position of the Russian side is well known to both American negotiators and President Trump. She is well known both in Kiev and the leadership of the Kiev regime. This position is consistent. The situation is deteriorating day by day for the Kiev regime. We talked about this, and the corridor for decision-making by the Kiev regime is narrowing. And we said last year that, of course, the time has long come for Zelensky to take responsibility and make an appropriate decision. So far, this is not done in Kyiv.
Peskov says the Russia-Ukraine war is also about European security. He claimed Russia is ready to talk with Europe, but Russia only wants talks to escape isolation, delay the war and build up forces that could later be used against Europe.
In general, as the President said yesterday, peace will not be established on its own. In order to establish peace, joint efforts are needed on opposite tracks. And this is exactly what it is about, that it is also impossible to discuss the problems of the Ukrainian settlement without talking about European security in a broader context. One way or another, security guarantees will relate to this topic, and for this, of course, dialogue is needed. We have this dialogue with the Americans. We highly appreciate the efforts of the Americans in this regard, and we do not have a dialogue with the Europeans in this regard. We have taken note of the statements made in recent days by a number of European leaders, namely from Paris, Rome and even Berlin, strange as it may seem, in favor of the fact that in order to have stability in Europe, it is necessary to talk to the Russians. This is absolutely in line with our vision. This is because, of course, if this really seriously reflects the strategic vision of the Europeans, then this is a positive development, probably a positive evolution of their positions. Because until recently we heard statements that absolutely excluded the possibility of any dialogue with the Russians and which spoke only of the need for a crushing defeat of Russia. Such utopian statements, here. But let's see how events will develop now.
Meanwhile, Putin says Russia wants peace and global security, and that is why it will continue the war. One thing must be clear: Putin will not stop unless he is stopped.
Security must be truly comprehensive, and therefore equal and indivisible. And it cannot be provided for some at the expense of the security of others. This principle is enshrined in the fundamental international legal documents. Neglect of this basic, vital principle has never led and will never lead to anything good. This was clearly shown by the crisis around Ukraine, which was a direct consequence of many years of ignoring Russia's just interests and a deliberate policy of creating threats to our security and advancing towards the Russian borders of the NATO bloc, contrary to the public promises made to us. I want to emphasize this. Contrary to the public promises made to us. Let me remind you that Russia has repeatedly put forward initiatives to build a new, reliable, and fair architecture of European global security. We offered options and rational solutions that could suit everyone in America, Europe, Asia, and the whole world. We believe that it would be worthwhile to return to their substantive discussion in order to consolidate the conditions on which a peaceful settlement of the conflict in Ukraine can be achieved, and the sooner the better. It is for a long-term and sustainable peace that reliably ensures the security of each and every one that our country is striving for. Not everywhere, including Kiev and the capitals that support it, are ready for this. But we hope that the realization of such a need will come sooner or later. As long as this is not the case, Russia will continue to consistently achieve its goals. At the same time, I would like to emphasize once again and ask you to take into account in your activities that Russia is always open to building equal and mutually beneficial relations with all international partners in the name of universal prosperity, well-being, and development.
Medvedev held a meeting on recruiting the Russian army. He gave specific numbers for how many occupiers have already been added and how many more are expected to join as volunteers. In reality, there are no volunteers in Russia. Most of these people are recruited from prisons and sent into deadly assets.
A few words once again about the results of the previous year. The task set by the Supreme Commander-in-Chief has been completed. 422,704 people signed a contract for military service. These are the final data that we have. Well, 32,000 more people signed a contract for service on a voluntary basis. That is, these are our volunteers. I have submitted a report on the results achieved to the head of state, but today we will discuss how to work this year, including such an important issue as manning troops with unmanned systems.
We understand that as long as Russia is building its army, it doesn't plan to end the war. Support Ukraine. Together we will win. Glory to Ukraine.